wrong. I backed away when I should have stood strong. I quit at things were taking too long. And Lord, it's taking forever to write this song. I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. When mama had me, that damn doctor hit me. And now you know why I'm so goddamn living. So listen up and take a step back. Real rap's a journey, not a one-way track. Find your own voice, don't just imitate. Cause the real ones rise and fakes ones fade. Bragging about the streets they roam. And sitting on the cold aluminum throne. While I'm spitting and vibing, they just moan. Claiming they're kings, but sitting alone. Got bars like a prison, but they can't break free. Spitting recycle lines, no originality. And here I am, bringing up clarity. While they babble on, lost in their parody. No need to set a trap with a limp in their wall. People saying that you ever can't even talk. Babbling lies, they think they're so fly. But I'm here to tell them to say goodbye. Babbling nonsense, trying to chase that fame. But I'm here to call it out, it's a damn shame. Claiming they're the next Big E in the game. But their rhymes are weak, just a flicker, no flame. You sound familiar, yeah, real vanilla. So similar, like some out of place gorilla in a small villa deep in Manila. Kin to Queen Camilla and her flotilla and all kinds of Furbies and chinchilla who drank too much tequila. And what's really killer is that the real filler is the real spiller. The real filler is the real filler of the real deal. All these channel nerds on this panel verse using battle words to tackle turds and slaying shit in bit non-bits, putting out hits on men with tits and chicks with dicks and LGBT misfits and don't know shit yet, professing truth like an effing sleuth in a private booth with a lying tooth, drunk or removed like a damn fool. And just in case you haven't heard, I'm a true ogre that writes his own word, so don't cross the line, it isn't blurred. From first-hand experience I've learned when I hold the words back in my mind. It's just me trying to be kind, but no, man, I'm not so mine. Speaking is the right kind. Speaking vivid visions right from the start. With each word playing a certain part. A verbal picture that shows its own art. Painted with passion, inspired by the heart. I'm telling you, break the chains with the truth. In a world full of babble and giving proof. So drop the act, let the real ones thrive. In this rap game, only the genuine survive. When things have become so problematic, I try to find solutions like an addict looking for a bump to keep up the habit. And the effect seems so damn automatic. This comes a personality or whatever you want to call it. I don't participate chasing the bag by trying to ball it. See, I'm a redneck with no money, if I pay, I want it. So go ahead and keep hating on me like Jussie Smollett. Everyone questioning my style, you must be kidding. The words that I am putting forth are hitting you in the right in the face, yet you are tripping. You're drunk on something and you ain't been sipping. Just step into the metaverse where the vibes can be cursed. Digital dreams, but sometimes it feels like a hearse. People lost in avatars, chasing likes in the cloud. But what's worse is the real world's fading now. We all have the freedom of speech be, but people always trying to bleep me. Is it because they can't keep me? Or is it because they can't beat me? Bring the simple truths that you can't destroy. All the patent things I've seen since I was a boy. The things that made me cry and brought me joy. The good and bad in my life I learned to employ. Taking from them the experience and leaving emotions behind. And so I learned to be true and no longer accept to be blind. Acting and performing in ways that others have defined. Only to find out once again that I have them aligned. We're living in a world that's so filled with doubt. If you're caught in the game, they try to seem to break out. I see you looking for the truth, but it's hard to scout. Thought you were awake, but finding you're lost in the clouds. They feed us the script, gotta learn to live without. Learn to question every lie and to flip the route. See the agents lurking in the dark corners all about. See I'm breaking free in my discernment, speaking out. Perception's a trick punch like a shadow in a bout. Chasing after dreams, others trying to drown them out. But I rise from the ashes and break free from that doubt. In this matrix of madness, you hear me scream out, breaking the chains and getting rid of all the doubt. That's what what you have to do to find your way out. Drink the clean waters and let your vision sprout. In a world of deception, together we'll rise and shine. From the matrix way twist what it's all about. Reality's not a screen, that's delusion. You can do it out. Trapped in that illusion and mostly seeing others pout. Feeling like a pawn in a game where they set the route. Bet you didn't think I could wipe this rap. Bet you didn't bet I'm right in fact. So scream all you want and write in caps. All you really doing is fighting stats. So remember I was born on the mighty Mississippi. My daddy was a mean drunk hippie. My mama had me, that damn doctor hit me. And now you know why I'm so goddamn lippy.
Days ago, and look who we have. Say hi to Dempsey. We've come to realize that it's a female with the dull coloring, and so therefore it is no longer Dempsey Sir Poops a Lot. It is Dempsey Madam Poops a Lot. So just once again, reminder, if you're a steward of life, you will have lifelong friends. God bless. Love y'all. Have a great day.
Man up, slaves, and hit those buttons, or I'll send ice.
Hey, greetings, everybody. Hoping everybody's having a good day, enjoying life, living life, loving life. Coming at you tonight, the abyss of my mind, the get to know me stream. And I'm going to start out, I started this channel, El Perro, here a number of years back on YouTube. And my entire purpose is this First Amendment freedom of expression. And as I've grown through life, I've been able to express myself in various different ways. I've been a performative expressionist in 4-minute films and speech class. I was a visual expressionist in art class, both sculptures and drawings and paintings. All these things which I'm not the greatest at, but am accomplished well enough that it's recognizable. Music, used to play the clarinet, guitar, bass, played the drums a little bit. And again, never a professional at it, but always well capable of it. Reading music, did well in school, A's pretty much straight through until my senior year, got in trouble with the law and kind of busted that A record. But, language arts, poems, computer programming, all kinds of things. And one of the things that I decided at one point in my life was I was going to write a memoir, because to me, even with firsthand experience, my life seems to be fucking intriguing. So I started taking notes so I could write a memoir. And I was going through those notes the other day, trying to put them together so I could write a prologue. And got the prologue written up, and I started thinking about things, because the prologue that I wrote up reminded me that my own perspective in life hasn't been developed by the materials that have been presented before me, whether they've been the musical, the literature, the video, the audio, the teaching, the researching. It's been, in fact, my own firsthand experience. And one of the things that really set me into things when I was younger in my life was a poem. Let me pull this up, because many of you know me for having said that I grew up in my life. Oops, I guess I got to pull it up. Okay, there we go. And so take that. Make the lettering better, bigger, bigger, bigger. Font. 24. And that should do it. So anyway, one of the things I read was a poem called The Man in the Glass by Peter Dale Wimbrough Sr. And I decided to dedicate my memoir in honor of him. Because this poem, it was an awakening point for myself. And it goes, when you get what you want in your struggle for self. I'll talk about that later. And the world makes you king for a day. Just go to the mirror and look at yourself and see what that man has to say. For it isn't your father or mother or wife whose judgment upon you must pass. The fellow whose verdict counts most in your life is the one staring back from the glass. He's the fellow to please, never mind all the rest, for he's with you clear to the end. And you've passed your most difficult and dangerous test if the man in the glass is your friend. You may fool the whole world down the pathway of years and get pats on the back as you pass. But your final reward will be heartache and tears if you cheated the man in the glass. See, and that's the main proponent of any message I put out, is that I found out that I was cheating myself. And so when I speak out and try to tell people what I know, it's disheartening when they don't listen. But I have to set myself back from that. I can't get involved in your BS if it's going to prevent me from being able to help others. I can't do it. I've got to have that apathy to sit back and say, well, if I'm going to help them and that help is going to be detrimental to me and wear me out, empty my glass, how am I going to be able to help myself so that I can turn around and continue helping others? So my perspective on life in a solipsistic and kind of a general altruistic manner is that I have to protect myself at all costs. In that protecting myself at all costs, I've come up against a lot of abuse, real firsthand abuse in my younger life. Now, the abuse that I received today is a little different proponent. A lot of it is brought on by myself because I am the man I am, and I won't back down. So let's get into it. Prologue. And this is just the first part of my memoir. This is the way I've arranged to start it out, and I'm giving it to you folks here firsthand. And hopefully when I get it done, you'll be able to get a copy and read the whole thing yourself. In the meantime, the prologue. The mirror of the abyss, the cruel mercy of tough love, the trap of entitlement, and the anatomy of the unforgiving mirror. I will always forgive you. To walk a principled, deeply convicted path through life is to invite immediate misunderstanding, profound alienation, and venomous false accusation. I used to hate this alienation. but I found balance in the absolute solitude in some instances. When an individual dedicates their existence to an unyielding moral, spiritual, or philosophical code, the methods they employ to live out that dedication are systematically scrutinized, misjudged, and violently maligned by those who prefer the warm, deceptive comfort of complacency over the cold, bracing air of genuine evolution. And learning, because that's truly the fundamental element of evolution in oneself is the learning. And then you have the experience from that learning. And then from the experience and its results, you gain wisdom. This is not a casual friction. It is a fundamental existential war between two opposing human drives. The drive toward effortless stagnation, disguised as living and even survival, and the grueling, agonizing climb toward authentic sovereignty. No man has authority over you. None. Those who choose the climb frequently find themselves isolated on the peaks. And again, that isolation isn't always bad. That solitude can be one of the greatest places you could ever be in. Not because they lack love for humanity, but precisely because their love is too fierce, too demanding, and too honest to accommodate the fragile, delicate illusions of the crowd. Herman Sue, 'tis better to walk alone than with a crowd going in the wrong direction. And again, like I said earlier, I've been telling people all my life, fuck you, you ain't my daddy. There's been a lot of things in my life that I refuse to do simply because somebody else told me to. There exists a distinct archetype of human being, one who gracefully straddles the quiet depths of introverted contemplation and the active, outward-facing drive of extroverted engagement, whose entire mode of operation is misunderstood precisely because it rejects the superficial appeasement. And see, this is why I say at the end of my videos, I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back or not. That's a superficial appeasement. So understand, when I say I love you, it's to import the idea that I do love you, even though my actions might seem aggressive or hostile or disrespectful. They are done in total honesty to get you people to wake the fuck up. I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you disrespect me. That part's on you. And the part on you to come out of that hate and resentment and everything is to understand that is your mirror. Everybody sees it. This person does not offer hollow validation, cheap sympathy, or the soft pillow of enablement. Instead, they offer a demanding, rigorous, and often brutal brand of assistance designed to force others to help themselves. I cannot do this for you. I can explain it to you, but I cannot comprehend it for you. Do not believe me. Do not believe the neighbor. Do not believe the government. For crying out loud, do not believe your mother. Do your research so you know you must help yourself to shatter the pathetic chains of learned helplessness and to drag them kicking and screaming into authentic independence. Yet, because this uncompromising approach strips away every convenient excuse, exposes every manufactured limitation, and confronts toxic entitlement head on, it routinely provokes bitter, vitriolic resentment. I get this all the time, people. Again, that's why I say I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't respect me. That part's on you and your entitlement, your manufactured limitation, and your convenient excuses. Those who are fundamentally unwilling to put in the grueling, sweat-soaked, agonizing work of self-improvement. That's who you're helping the most, is yourself. That's why it's imperative to understand that you don't help others so much that it destroys you. Agonizing, and that you have to get into your apathy mode. That's solitude. Agonizing work of self-improvement frequently lash out at the messenger. What do you think they did to Jesus? What do you think they did to Jesus? You're still doing it today. Unable or fundamentally terrified to face their own internal rot, failures, and spiritual weaknesses, they project their frustrations outward. They construct elaborate defensive narratives, going so far as to claim that such fierce, demanding love must stem from malice, cruelty, or dark forces, whispering behind closed doors that the helper is somehow walking with demons. Navigating this psychic terrain requires an unflinching, terrifying philosophical confrontation with the abyss of human nature. A constant, unblinking recognition of the mirror one holds up to society, and a disciplined, protective, emotional detachment. This detachment is not coldness. Rather, it is a vital shield of self-preservation, ensuring that the helper does not burn out, self-destruct, or lose the very capacity to care in a world that drains the strong to comfort the weak. No child left behind, right? It's the same thing, folks. It's the same thing. Part 1, the anatomy of entitlement versus the mercy of rigorous love. See, a lot of people think love is just an emotion and it's easy to do. And all you got to do is love them. No, love truly is rigorous. Because when you see your wife doing something wrong, you have to get on her ass. If you see your husband doing something wrong, you have to get on his ass. Just like when you see your children doing something wrong, you get on their ass. It's not always just simply letting people do what they want. You have to tell them when they're doing things wrong, doing things that are not conducive to others, that are in fact detrimental, that drain the strength to comfort the weak. You don't have to drain the strong to become strong yourself. To become strong yourself is an act of self in doing what you have to do and not depending on somebody else to do it for you. This includes the education of your children, the spiritual pathway that you send your children on, their talents as they grow up. What are they good at? What will help them accomplish the most in life? A good education to become a mechanic when they have no desire to be a mechanic, but would be a great pianist or a great violinist? To truly understand why uncompromising assistance is so frequently vilified, one must first ruthlessly deconstruct the fundamental conflict between genuine empowerment and systemic entitlement. That's why they use a popularity contest, and you love that name so much rather than the self. You're so emotionally attached to the name and its systemic entitlement in the record system, whether it be for the arts or movies or engineer or mechanic or politician, whatever you are in life, under that title, that is a title in a system, and it is a systemic entitlement to be part of that group. That is not the self. Human nature, left to its default biological and psychological settings, invariably leans toward the path of least resistance. See, in our true nature of just the biological and psychological element, there is no written language. There is no spoken word. It is merely how we observe and contemplate the world around us for ourself. Water flows downward, seeking the lowest, easy basin. Energy conservation is a core evolutionary survival mechanism. It does the same thing. When individuals encounter adversity, pain, confusion, or the heavy burden of consequence, their immediate impulse is to seek external rescue. This is why we live in a modern society of comforts and conveniences for your safety. They look for a savior, a crutch, an institutional safety net, or an accommodating surrogate parent who will lift the cross from their shoulders so they do not have to bear the agonizing weight of their own transformation. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know that that is me, my own transformation. That's all I'm trying to reflect to you, is that you have to make your own transformation. An individual committed to true, radical independence recognizes this dynamic for the psychological poison that it is. Handouts, unending sympathy, and continuous rescue missions do not strengthen a person. They systematically atrophy their spiritual and mental muscles. They breed a profound, insidious sense of entitlement, an unspoken toxic assumption that the universe, or specific strong-willed individuals within it, owe them comfort, safety, and effortless solutions without exacting the toll of personal growth. This is your police state, and you bow down to it. You lick them boots. Because they provide that safety that you're so comforted and convenienced by. To combat this parasitic dynamic, the dedicated mentor adopts an intentionally demanding, unyielding posture. And I've said it many times, I will not stop. I will not bow. They refuse to be the crutch. I will not enable. They refuse to grant the easy bailout. I will not accept your excuses. by withholding superficial comfort and instead forcing the individual to stare directly into the smoldering wreckage of their own problems, like I have had to do with mine, and solve them through their own tears, sweat, and discipline, like I had to do myself. The helper engages in an act of supreme, terrifying love. However, because entitlement is inherently fragile, narcissistic, and deeply defensive, it cannot tolerate being challenged. When a person accustomed to having their burdens carried is suddenly told, no, pick up your own weight, you are fully capable, you must do it yourself because no one is coming to save you, your reaction is rarely gratitude. Rarely. Very disheartening. More often, it is blind, foaming outrage. The dependent individual feels deeply injured, profoundly offended, and personally assaulted because they view the demand for self-reliance as an act of hostility. They invert reality entirely. They look at the rigorous, unyielding architect of their potential and mistakenly label them as adversarial. You all can do it. You all have that unyielding architect of potential. And when somebody like me tries to point it out and tell you to just do it, you get butthurt and label us as adversarial, harsh, or malevolent. They confuse comfort with kindness and accountability with abuse, proving that to the deeply entitled, a true friend looks indistinguishable from an enemy. You will turn on each other at a whim. This entitlement masks a deep, paralyzing terror of inadequacy. The entitled individual operates under the hidden assumption that they are fundamentally incapable of surviving the harsh realities of existence on their own merits. Makes them feel that they need the entitlement to get anywhere in this world. You got to have that Social Security card. You got to get a job. You got to have a good education to do anything. You got to have that title. You got to be able to wear that badge, whether you're an officer or a retailer with a name tag on the front. That name. And everybody demands the ID. Know thyself. It is totally different than that person. Therefore, any demand that they step up and prove their capability is perceived not as an invitation to greatness, but as a death sentence to their own fragile ego. They cling desperately to their chains because those chains are familiar, and in their twisted logic, being a captive of circumstance is safer than being master of one's own destiny. All for the safety. You bring it on yourself. That's what you desire. You desire a world with no bumps and bruises. That's a fairy tale. You're only going to read it in a book. The tough love mentor shatters this illusion with the force of a sledgehammer, refusing to play the role of warden or savior, demanding instead that the prisoner walk out of the cell under their own power. You can do this. You can do this. Step at a time, just like the old movie says, huh? One step at a time, and soon you'll be walking right out the door. Part 2, staring into the abyss, unforgiving mirror of human nature. To walk a path of demanding service is to peer constantly into the psychological abyss, the deep, terrifying, and repressed reservoir of human motives, cowardice, fears, shadows, and desperate rationalizations. When an individual operates from a place of deep self-awareness and philosophical clarity, they understand that human interactions are governed by profound, inescapable mirrors. The image and likeness, it's in the scriptures too, people, all you good Christians. It's an inescapable mirror of morals, ethics, philosophical views. Every person we encounter and every defensive reaction we elicit from them acts as a hyper-reflective surface, casting back an unedited image of internal reality. This is like when you walk down the street and you smile at somebody. Generally, they're going to smile back. If you say hi, generally, they're going to say hi back. I've noticed a little shift in that over the years. People don't smile back quite as much. And they don't say hi quite as much. But I still stand in my position. And when I see somebody, I smile at them and I say hi. When do people give it up? When that sense of entitlement took over completely? When the uncompromising helper stands firm against manipulation, laziness, excuses, and self-pity, they become a living, breathing mirror for the people they are trying to assist. In that mirror, the dependent person is forced to catch a horrifying glimpse of their own inadequacies, their lack of discipline, their chronic avoidance, their cowardice in the face of conflict, their deep-seated insecurities, and their pervasive, ugly sense of entitlement. And like I said before, I too was once a fucking fool. I too was once a bitch-ass slave. I too once had an ugly sense of entitlement. But I got up and walked out of that prison cell and left the ID in the cell. I don't carry ID, folks. Carrying ID says I don't know myself and that I have to use a third party for identification. I am who I say I am. For many, looking into that mirror is psychologically intolerable. The human ego will go to extraordinary, delusional lengths to protect itself from the searing pain of self-realization. It is infinitely easier, infinitely less painful, and infinitely more ego-preserving to smash the mirror than to fix the broken face that looks into it. Man in the mirror. That's the one you need to learn how to respect. He's the one that's going to be most honest with you. And there's no way you can avoid it. He knows every last one of your lies. Thus, a massive psychological projection takes place. Because the helper refuses to validate the other person's comforting self-deception, the other person must construct a monstrous narrative to neutralize the existential threat the helper represents. They whisper or shout that the helper is toxic, dangerous, or spiritually compromised. They claim the helper walks with demons because admitting that the helper is simply acting out of moral clarity and tough love would require the accuser to look in the mirror and admit their own moral and psychological and spiritual bankruptcy. So look closer into the mirror right now. when you feel a surge of bitter resentment towards someone who refuses to coddle your weaknesses, ask yourself, are you angry at them, or are you terrified of the reflection they are forcing you to look at? The abyss does not care about your excuses. It merely waits for you to stop running from your own reflection. The abyss is not some external underworld populated by mythical monsters. It is the uncharted, unexamined basement of the human psyche, where repressed cowardice, unexpressed potential, and secret malice and unhealed trauma fester in the dark. It's you ignoring self because you're entitled to, by letting the person be everything you want it to be. You will never be what you were meant to be under that entitlement. You can only be what you were meant to be, and empowered by that beingness by knowing thyself. You have to look in your basement. Most people live their entire lives on the sunlit upper floors of consciousness, avoiding the basement at all costs, while claiming they're awake and they can see the light. They curate their social circles, consume endless distractions, and cultivate comfortable narratives to ensure they never have to venture down into the gloom. These are the little white lies that people use to convince themselves they are good people. The uncompromising mentor, however, drags people down the basement stairs, turns the harsh overhead light on, and forces them to look at what they have neglected, broken, or abandoned. We tell you you're a bitch-ass slave, that you're a fucking fool, that you don't know what you're doing. Because we've been there, done that. We too have basements. We've had to go down and sift through all that clutter and the dust and the webs and clean it up, put things where they belong. Empathy, sympathy, apathy, reason, logic, integrity. This intervention, while profoundly therapeutic in its long-term implications, it is a long game, folks. While you play all these little short games in your life, tallying up scores and getting blue ribbons for participation, feels like an act of torture to someone accustomed to living in denial. The sulfurous odor of truth is choking to lungs accustomed to the perfume of comforting lies. When people lash out at the bringer of truth, they are simply trying to blow out the light so they can return to the comfortable safety of their own psychological darkness. Part 3, the ethics of altruistic apathy and self-preservation. This is that solipsistic view that I have that I was mentioning. A critical, non-negotiable element that sustains a life of demanding, high-intensity service to others is the cultivation of a specific kind of emotional stance, one that can be accurately described as intentional, disciplined apathy toward external judgment. I don't give a fuck what you think about me. I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you hate me or disrespect me. I don't care if you call me names. I don't care about your drama. I don't care about your accusations. I don't care about none of it. Manufactured drama and emotional blackmail. You can't emotionally blackmail me. I don't allow it. To the casual, superficial observer, the word apathy sounds cold, detached, or unfeeling. But in the context of deep, sustainable altruism, this calculated detachment is an absolute prerequisite for survival and efficacy. This is why I love my solitude. It is absolute. That's where I get to look in that basement. I get to detach from the upstairs world and go down in my basement. If a helper internalizes every hostile accusation, absorbs every ounce of unearned resentment, and allows themselves to be emotionally battered by those who reject accountability, they will experience rapid emotional and spiritual exhaustion. They will burn out, collapse, and turn bitter. True sustainable love requires absolute boundaries. It requires the terrifying capacity to look someone in distress in the eyes, offer them the rigorous tools they need to save themselves, and then step back with complete emotional equilibrium, totally unfazed by whether that person screams, cries, curses, plays the victim, or attempts to demonize the process. See, this apathy is not a lack of caring about the person's ultimate welfare. Rather, it is profound, protective refusal to care about the person's temporary, defensive, emotional tantrums. This brings us to the core ethical boundary of helping, preserving the self so that the ability to help is never permanently destroyed. An individual cannot pour from an empty vessel. If a helper sacrifices their own mental health, their own inner peace, their own well-being on the altar of appeasing those who demand endless coddling, they will eventually reach a catastrophic breaking point. They will buckle under the crushing weight of other people's unmanaged chaos. And once a person is broken, depleted, or driven to cynicism by chronic mistreatment, they can no longer help anyone else, nor can they even help themselves. Therefore, protecting one's own self is not an act of selfishness or cold withdrawal. It is the ultimate fulfillment of the altruistic mission. By maintaining firm boundaries, regulating emotional investment, and cultivating a thick skin anchored in philosophical clarity, the helper ensures their own longevity. They guarantee they remain standing, clear-headed, and capable of continuing their work tomorrow, next year, and for the rest of their lives. I will not stop. I will not bow. Consider the metaphor of the surgeon. A brilliant surgeon does not weep hysterically over every incision or faint at the sight of blood. If they did, the patient would die on the table. The surgeon maintains an emotional distance, a clinical detachment, not because they do not care if the patient lives or dies, but precisely because they care so deeply about the outcome. They must keep their hands steady, their mind clear, and their focus absolute. The rigorous mentor operates under the exact same principle. They cut away the dead tissue of excuse making and self-pity with a steady, unflinching hand, knowing full well that the patient will scream in pain, thrash about, and curse the surgeon's name. The surgeon accepts this temporary hatred as part of the healing process, refusing to let the patient's panic compromise the integrity of the operation. Part 4. The multifaceted truth of uncompromising care. To ensure that these foundational truths are fully captured, integrated, and understood across every dimension of human existence, we must examine them through various lenses. And I broke it down to 4 lenses. The lens of intent. Like I said earlier, we observe our world, we contemplate it, and in our actions, that's what we use to create intent of what we do in accordance to our observances. And it's the underlying motivation driving this entire lifestyle is pure, unadulterated love. Like I said, I don't care about where you come from. I don't care about the color of your skin. I don't care about your age. I don't care about your sex. We all have the exact same right to know. And we each have the right to freely express ourselves. And when one of our voices is silenced, thousands of ears are deafened. It is a love that looks past the immediate comfort of the individual and focuses exclusively on their long-term spiritual and practical evolution. In my freedom of speech, I look beyond what's imperative to me and focus on what's imperative to you. You have the right to know, therefore I must speak. In my speaking, I must be careful in what I say so that it's helpful, not detrimental. So that means when I strike out and I call you names because you want to make false accusations against me, say that I'm mocking God, things like that. You know, I'm going to act the same way to point it out to you. And you're going to call it malevolent. You're going to say I'm the one walking with demons when you're the ones that's doing it to start. That's you. If you weren't the one walking with demons, then why are you the one making false accusations? I'm only trying to help you, brothers and sisters. It refuses to participate in the slow, comfortable poison of enablement, choosing instead the sharp, clean cut of truth over the festering affection of appeaseless validation. See, I can try to appease you all I want, but you're going to continue seeking validation in this popularity contest in the next game or in the next part of this game. However you look at your life, you're going to continue seeking validation. It's because you've got that sense of entitlement. You operate under that name and you don't know thyself. And that leads us to the lens of misunderstanding. The external perception, the malicious narrative that the helper is dangerous or allied with darkness, is a structural inevitability. I've had to realize this, that no matter how much I try to help people, this is the way they're going to respond. Whenever standards are raised high, and like I said, I have high standards. I'll not raise or I'll not lower them. If anything, I might raise them, but I will never lower them. They are my defense. Whenever standards are raised high, those who refuse to reach for them will inevitably try to tear the standard bearer down. The accusation of walking with demons is merely the desperate psychological weapon of the undisciplined against the disciplined, designed to discredit the standard so the accuser doesn't have to feel bad about failing to meet it. See, everybody else wants to walk with the same crowd because that's that low standard. They don't want to reach for a higher standard and walk the proper path. They don't want to walk alone and find a better path. However you want to look at that. Herman Sue, 'tis better to walk alone than with a crowd going in the wrong direction. And if you're hanging with a bunch of people that fail to meet your standards, why are you still hanging with them? Are they lowering your standards, or are you raising yours? It's only one or the other. Which leads us to the lens of balance. Being a mixed introvert and extrovert means the individual possesses a rich inner world of philosophical contemplation, coupled with an outward-facing drive to engage humanity. And my outward drive to engage humanity is I understand my purpose in public service. Love thy neighbor as thyself. So when I know myself, know thyself, and I'm supposed to love thy neighbor as thyself, I understand also that I'm to owe no man anything but to love them, for to love them is to fulfill the law. That's as simple as I see it. And so I engage with people, trying to help them in an educational way. And they tell me I don't know what I'm reading. I don't know how to read. I don't understand what I'm reading. I'm reading it the wrong way. It's plain English, folks. Everything's voluntary. Court doesn't obtain personal jurisdiction unless the person voluntarily appears in court. Taxes are voluntary. Social Security is voluntary. It's all voluntary, but once you volunteer, that's what creates the entitlement. Now you have to wear a title. And they will never recognize thyself because it's a systemic image. That's the only thing they're interested in. They're not interested in you and yourself. They're interested in that person that gives you that entitlement because you got it from them, the system. This balance makes them uniquely equipped to see the big picture while rolling up their sleeves to do the gritty, unglamorous work of helping others, navigating both the silent library of the mind and the roaring battlefield of human relations as we live in this social world called society and have a social welfare system. Which leads us to the lens of preservation. Because if you think their social welfare system is good for you, I urge you to reconsider. The boundary of apathy is a sanctuary. Like I said, I love my solitude. It's where I get out of the emotions of sympathy and empathy, and I really get to think about reason, logic, and integrity and stand on my principles. By refusing to let the noise, the ingratitude, and the projections of others penetrate the core of their spirit, the helper maintains their own sovereignty. So yes, I love my solitude. They protect their own minds so they remain a functioning, enduring force for good in a world that desperately needs uncompromising strength and yet refuses to reward it. I don't need your reward, folks. My reward is in heaven as I understand it. Part 5. The solitude of the peak and the architecture of resilience. And I'll take a break right here and tell you that the resilience in myself comes from that firsthand experience that I was telling you about earlier. I've been there, done that. I've been through a lot of shit, folks. Shit that you wouldn't believe me if I told you. So I don't. All I can hope is that when I point these obvious things out to you, you will start taking those first steps to helping yourself. To fully embrace this path of uncompromising service and rigorous love, one must make peace with a profound and inescapable reality, the absolute solitude of the peak. Most human beings live in the valleys of consensus reality. It's why you live and report to a census every 10 years. It's why your birth is registered as a Bureau of Vital Statistics. And it's a statist, I see. Okay? It's the groupthink safe space for your safety. It is the foundational groupthink safe space, is society. Before that, mankind was nomadic. In the valleys, opinions are shared, comforting myths are mutually reinforced, and mediocrity is celebrated as equality. Yeah. Remember the No Child Left Behind thing again. Remember the DEI stuff. Yeah. Everyone agrees on the rules of the social game, which essentially boiled down to mutual self-deception. Everybody's willing to accept the lies. You don't challenge my illusions, and I won't challenge yours. See, this is why people speak out against me, because I challenge their illusions and delusions. And I tell them, I don't just challenge them mentally in my own mind. I speak out on it. I question them about their illusions. I question them about their delusions. When an individual breaks away from this collective slumber and begins the arduous climb toward moral, intellectual, and spiritual excellence, they leave the valley behind. Like I said, I've been doing this since I was a little boy. I've been climbing out of that collective slumber since I was a little boy, before they were even able to indoctrinate me into it. Telling everybody, fuck you, you ain't my daddy. I knew all my life there's something wrong here. Something's wrong. Too many people are not telling me the truth. So I stood on that principle since I was a little boy. Don't lie to me. I'm tired of the lies. Aren't you? Evidently not, because everybody's still lying to each other. And I'm the one on the peak, standing up here telling the truth. And everybody's throwing rocks at me like, get down from there. You don't deserve it. Trying to bring me down to their standards again. It's not going to work. At first, there are companions on the lower slopes, but as the path grows steeper, narrower, and more demanding, those companions drop away. They turn back, citing fatigue, weather, or ideological disagreements, making excuses and all kinds of bullshit. They prefer the cozy fog of the valley to the thin, sharp, clarifying air of the upper altitudes. Eventually, the uncompromising mentor finds himself standing largely alone on the ridge. And from this vantage point, they can see everything with terrifying clarity. That's why I call everybody Hitler's willing executioners. I see it from afar, and I see everybody doing the same thing. I see the petty dramas of the valley below for what they truly are, fleeting shadows cast by flickering campfires, and reborn images of the Nazi concentration camps. They see the intricate webs of resentment, gossip, and mutual enablement that bind the inhabitants together in a suffocating embrace. As a society, these cities get larger and tighter. And they see the tragic waste of human potential happening down below every single day, fueled by the narcotic of comfort and the fear of accountability. This solitude is not necessarily a source of grief for the mature soul. Rather, it becomes a sanctuary of peace. The noise of the valley cannot reach the high ridge unless the climber invites it up. Like I said, I cannot be moved in my emotions when people call me names, spew false accusations, all kinds of shit, if I don't allow it. I don't care if you hate me or disrespect me. That's not my concern. The false accusations, the whispers about walking with demons, and the frantic demands for coddling sound like faint, muffled static from down below. I hear it, but I don't pay attention to it because it means nothing to me. Climber hears them, understands their origin and the psychology of fear, and simply turns back to face the horizon. I got to do what I got to do. And I love you, but I don't care whether you disrespect me or you hate me. That stuff's all on you. You've got to help yourself. You've got to come out of that hatred and resentment. Yet this isolation demands an extraordinary architecture of inner resilience. Without a robust internal framework, the sheer weight of being perpetually misunderstood can crush even the strongest spirit. The weight of being perpetually misunderstood can crush even the strongest spirit. See, this robust internal framework I have is, like I said, I've been telling people, fuck you, you ain't my daddy all my life, because I knew they were lying to me. I knew there was something wrong. I couldn't point out exactly what the lie was, but I knew somehow there was bullshit there. And in the event, I never did like much of what was going on. Floating in and out of foster homes for 5 years. And then I got adopted and I started liking things and I almost got indoctrinated. Then 5 years later, I told those folks that I was done with the church and they kicked me out. And by that point, I was indoctrinated just enough that I kept relations with them and thought everything was hunky-dory. And it got me that job and I got me that Social Security card and did all kinds of stupid things in life, including got myself in prison when I was 18. Spent 3.5 years behind those limestone walls. Another 5 years on parole. That's what created the robust internal framework that you see today. This is why the integration of introversion and extroversion is so vital. The introverted core provides the deep, silent well of philosophical conviction, the sacred internal temple where the helper communes with their highest ideals, their God, or their moral compass. The extroverted drive provides the courage to step back out of the temple, into the streets, back down into that valley, descend briefly into the chaos of the marketplace, and offer the required tough love to those who are drowning in their own weakness. Part 6, the crucible of transformation. Why the soft path fails. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know that is me. I cannot change you if you don't want to change. I cannot change anybody if they don't want to change. Just like my parents couldn't change me because I didn't want to change. You have to do that yourself. Is it worth examining the clinical precision? Why the prevailing cultural preference for gentle, validating, non-confrontational support ultimately fails humanity on every level? In modern society, there is an obsession with emotional safety. Every institution, from education to corporate culture to interpersonal relationships, has increasingly tilted toward the elimination of friction, discomfort, and negative feedback. People are taught that if something feels hard, stressful, or emotional bruising, it must be inherently toxic. I urge you to reconsider. If someone criticizes your performance, your mindset, or your character, they are labeled as a bully or a narcissist. I urge you to reconsider. This cultural shift has created an epidemic of fragility. When you systematically remove all friction from a physical muscle, the muscle wastes away through disuse, atrophy. The same biological and psychological law applies to the human spirit. When you systematically remove all accountability, consequence, and rigorous challenge from a human life, you do not create a happy, well-adjusted individual. You create a psychological infant trapped in an adult body, a creature utterly unequipped to handle the inevitable storms of existence. And so you need a police state to call on for that safety. The tough love mentor is the ultimate antidote to this societal decay. They recognize that real growth only occurs inside the crucible of stress, resistance, and failure. As a diamond is forged under immense geological pressure, steel is strengthened by being repeatedly heated in fire and beaten with a hammer. To deny a human being the fire and the hammer is to deny them the opportunity to become unbreakable. Like I said, folks, I've been through a lot of shit in my life. The shit that I've been through, you couldn't possibly imagine. You couldn't possibly put me through shit that I've been through and try to break me anymore. If I haven't broken by now, with all the shit that I've been through, even as a young child, who the hell do you think you are that you think you can break me with your excuses, false accusations, ad hominems, character attacks, degradation? You ain't shit. When the mentor refuses to coddle, when they look a person in the eye and say, your excuses are pathetic, your strategy is flawed, and you are fully responsible for the mess you are in, they're handing that person the hammer. They're saying, I respect you too much to treat you like a fragile porcelain doll. If you think you're tough, put the hammer to yourself. If you think you're a fragile porcelain doll, you're probably going to hesitate on that. I know you have strength to rebuild this. Oops. I know you have the strength to rebuild this, even if you are too cowardly to admit it right now. This is why I get frustrated when people ask me for help. And I try to tell them what they need to do. And they say, no, that's not the kind of help I wanted. I wanted you to write something up for me. I can't do it, folks. That isn't going to help you. If you want me to help you, then I have to have the integrity to be able to help you and know that it's helping you. Me writing something up for you is not going to help you. And it's only a waste of my time and draining my energy. I'm not going to do it. Of course, the fragile ego recoils from this treatment. Oh, he's a fraud. Bitch, I didn't even ask you for any money. Motherfuckers, I didn't ask for nothing. It wants the warm bath of endless empathy. He did me wrong. There wasn't even any money on the table. You just asked, and I said no. Because you asked me to help you, and I said yes, and then you told me what you wanted me to do. No, you asked for my help. I'll do what I can to help you, and that's to tell you what you need to do. You don't tell me in helping you that I need to do something. That's not the way it works. It wants someone to stroke its hair, tell it that none of it is its fault, and blame the cruel universe on its behalf. But empathy without accountability is a narcotic. It numbs the pain while the disease spreads unchecked. That person will go on to the next one and ask for help from them. And when they don't give them the help that they want, they're a bad guy too. Rigorous love is surgery. It hurts terribly. It leaves scars, but it cuts out the cancer and saves the life. Conclusion. Staring down the abyss and standing in the light. Ultimately, to walk this path is to accept a life of profound solitude amidst constant engagement. It requires the quiet strength to be perpetually misunderstood by those one is trying to elevate. It demands the raw courage to look into the abyss of human weakness without flinching, to recognize the mirrors that surround us, and to maintain the fierce discipline of emotional detachment. Because when you look in those mirrors and you see the horror and you get caught up in your emotions, you're not going to find your way out of that house of mirrors. You know what that circus mirror house is all about now? That was made as a jest to try to get people to look themselves in the mirror while trying to figure out the path in their life. If you're reading this and feeling a sharp sting of discomfort, look closer. The mirror is right in front of you. Are you willing to put in the grueling work of your own independence? Or will you continue to curse the one holding up the glass? By anchoring one's actions in a philosophy that prioritizes ultimate independence over temporary appeasement, and by fiercely protecting one's own well-being against the drain of entitlement, a person can walk with God or their highest moral ideal without wavering. They can absorb the stones thrown by the ungrateful, deflect the false accusations of the weak, and continue forward with an unshakable commitment to doing what is truly best for all, including themselves. The mirror does not lie, and the abyss does not negotiate. When you finally stop running from your reflection, when you strip away the comforting blankets of excuse and self-pity, you will discover the harsh, demanding voice you once feared and resented was not the voice of a demon at all. It was the fierce, uncompromising call of your own potential, urging you to finally wake up, stand up, and claim the magnificent strength that has been awaiting for you all along. It is your voice. Are you ready to stop running from the reflection in the mirror and face the hard work of your own absolute independence? Are you ready Are you ready to speak about your resolution? That's me in a nutshell, folks. I'm a tough one to love because I don't accept nobody's excuses. I don't accept anybody's lies, including my own mom and dad. Mom looked at me when I was 49 years old, said, Keith, the police are your authority. Funny thing was, I went over that day to talk to them about their illusion. Their illusion that they had helped me and my sisters by adopting us, which in effect, in this system, helped tear a family apart. Now, maybe I'm the delusional one. Maybe it's my illusion. I don't know. But what I saw was another full-grown adult who should know better lying to me. See that power in you? That thing I mentioned about sovereignty? That's your own authority. Nobody's got authority over you people. Nobody. It's all voluntary. You give them authority because of a sense of entitlement to live in this society. Out in nature, nobody has authority over a bear, do they? Oh, wait a minute. Would that be wildlife conservation? They have authority over bears? That's what they pose. And I'm urging you to think about this. Who is your authority? If you think it's them, where did they get it from? You. So hopefully everybody will think about this. Read that poem, Man in the Glass. Get a copy of it. There's one called Woman in the Glass as well. Same concept. I would hope you guys would start helping yourselves, because this is getting ridiculous. And on the way out, again, I'm not buying what you sell.
Hold up, grab my soda, cause I told you I'm colder than hell. I ain't buying what you sell, it don't ring my bell. Unless it's got the smell, you know, like grape ape. We ain't talking vapes or the color of drapes, or a gorilla in a cape is the good shit. Just one hit, you so lit, you fall into a bit, non-bit. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie, obliteration of the carnation with gross castration, skewed citations by your intimation. Get real, young man, there's only one stand. You can't stand a suntan. How you gonna live on the land? Obliteration of the carnation with gross castration in skewed citations by your intimations. I'm a truth in rotation. You're a cheap imitation. Dark said hums, 808s make the ground shake. Cold as the grave, every word's a land quake. You're a flicker in a cipher, I'm the flame that won't fade. Step into the night where the shadows are made. What's fucking funny is you're a monkey, a high school flunky, hero and junkie. I'm gonna click another hit of this good shit, and I'm already it, so take over, it's been unbid.
Thank you for joining us at Personality Inventory Mockumentary Production. Man up, slaves, and hit those buttons, or I'll send ice.
You guys know me. Like I said, I love you, but I don't give a rat's ass whether you love me back. That's to say, I don't care if you hate me. I don't care if you don't like me. I don't care if you disrespect me. I don't care if you call me bad names. I don't care. That part's on you. See, this is a you thing. You got to do the work. Be blessed.